Hey guys, it's Phil Cook. It's been a minute since I've done a video, so I figured I'd just give you a little bit of an update what's going on with me. And a topic I wanted to talk about that a lot of pilots don't talk about that I think needs to be addressed. And I think we should start this conversation uh, between you and I and what your thoughts are. And do you think it's right? Do you agree with it? Do you think it should be the way that it is? And that is, I've been seeing an interesting trend lately when it comes to pilot jobs. So if you're looking for a job right now, there's one thing you'll notice is things are a little slow, right? Uh, Due to the economy, due to the lack of international travel, due to tariffs, whatever you want to say it is, we've noticed that companies aren't hiring as much. Uh, Things aren't moving as quickly. Passengers aren't flying as often. And so a lot of airlines have either slowed down hiring or have completely stopped hiring altogether. And so I know a lot of newer pilots who, got their 1500 or they're working, trying to get to that 135, and they're struggling to get that first gig. Obviously with aviation, everything's in ebbs and flows. Some seasons things are hot, pilots are getting hired every other day, and then seasons start to slow down and you'll see airlines start to slow down. We're definitely been in a slump for a little bit, but there is hope on the horizon. If you pay attention to the ads and to the forums and stuff like that, you'll notice several airlines are hiring. I still think the regionals are definitely hiring as well. If that's the level that you're at, you know, any jet time is better than no jet time. Recently, Southwest had started hiring for 2 weeks, but if you know anything about working for Southwest, they were inundated immediately with tons of applications, and basically they were supposed to be hiring for about 2 weeks, and within just a few days of opening their applications, about 8 days early, they decided to stop accepting applications. That's the nature of the game. It happens. uh, if you if you don't get hired or you put in your application, you gotta thanks but no thanks. Guess what? It's the nature of the beast. I applied for several places and was told thanks but no thanks. And I've met with some senior guys from I met with a retired um, Southwest captain, and the first thing he said, he was like, he applied 3-4 times before he was actually accepted. So sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes it's just a matter of you're they want certain hours at one time and you just don't have it. So you gotta keep plotting away at those hours and keep reapplying, keep building your resume. Remember in my old video when I talked about getting those first jobs and I say be hireable. That's what you want to do. You want to be hireable. So there are a couple other airlines that started popping up despite the fact that we're in a slump. One of them was Frontier. So what is today? Today is the 18th. And Frontier just opened up their hiring slots. So you can go to their website and apply and try to be a Frontier first officer. Companies like Avelo have been hiring for a minute. Who else did I see recently? I saw, like I said, the regionals have always been hiring. I think with a lot of the regionals, because there's less movement there as well, I've seen them moving towards prioritizing entry-level captains and senior FOs. So they're looking for first officers with, I believe, a minimum of like 700 hours of flight experience and 121 experience, I should say. So the things are still moving. If you're looking at 135s, a lot of 135s are still hurting, but this is what I want you to be aware of. And again, it's something a lot of pilots don't talk about, is while looking at Mesa's website. If you don't know Mesa, Mesa is a 121 regional. You're going to be flying something like either the CRJ or the E170 or E175, flying for them. They fly all over the U.S. I think primarily they do a lot of Midwest flying. I've mostly seen them out of Phoenix, but that's just some of the routes that they fly. Well, looking at the Mesa website, I noticed that they had an interesting thing, which was they're partnering with United Aviate to give 0% financing for AV8 members who are building time. Of course, there's always a catch-22, being that you have to obviously be qualified for those loans. If you qualify for those loans, you can get them, which is easier said than done, right? Obviously, if you're a young person or, just looking to get in, you might need a co-signer. So be aware of that. Then the most disturbing thing was you had to get into their United Flow. Now, one of the big things that upsets me is a lot of these companies say flow, and that makes you think that, boom, you're in step 1, you're going to go all the way to step 10. Well, what you're going to find is a lot of these companies, it was the same at SkyWest, it was the same at some of the FedEx feeders, their Purple Pathway. It's the same at a lot of these regionals and feeder programs. Is nothing's guaranteed, right? It's not a flow. Often it's a guaranteed interview, and sometimes those interviews will not get you the job. So just be aware of that. Go where you want to be and work where you want to work. If working for United is your passion, do what it takes to become marketable so United will hire you. Does that mean you have to stick it out at a regional or at a smaller company that supposedly has a flow? Probably not. So do what you got to do. Do what keeps you happy. Don't get locked into these contracts, which is the second thing that upsets me, is a lot of these companies, especially coming from the 135 rule, they get you trapped in a lot of these training repayments or loan programs. So one of the companies I worked for, we had SkyWest offering, class dates for individuals who were building their time through the 135. And they offered, I think it was either up to $17,000 advancements. And so these individuals were being locked into these contracts to where they were being told they had to stay for years. Sometimes it was as simple as, oh, you have to be at the company for 2 years, or it might have been as complicated as you had to make captain and then you had to be a captain for 2 years, which means, it could take you 2 to 3 years to make captain, maybe even longer. And then on top of that, you got to add the mandatory years as a captain. So it becomes a little more difficult. So be careful when you look at these programs. They often seem like they're great systems, but there's a lot of caveats. We've had a lot of individuals I've worked with who were dealing with companies and training repayments where, they work for these companies and they were either let go or they quit of their own volition before those periods, and they were being asked astronomical prices for repayments, talking about anywhere from 10 to 20 something $1,000 that they were being asked to repay for training. Now, I've worked for some companies where the first year pay sucks. My company, the first year pay is not great. But the reason it's not great is because the company recoups their training costs for that first year. Once you get past the first year, then typically your pay will expand significantly past that first year. But when this all comes to mind, when I think of the fact that we were sometimes doing 5, 6 legs a day, sometimes if you got short legs, you might be doing 8 legs a day, working 6 to 8 hours a day, well, that's flying hours, where you might be at work sometimes 16 hours a day, and you're away from home and you're doing all this stuff. You're still making the company a significant amount of money. And so to put in so much work, be there for 12, 10 months and not fulfill that 1 year, but getting job offers because you're killing yourself doing 110 hours a month of just flying, which can translate to 200 plus hours a month of actually working. You're going to find real quick that you have well surpassed the amount of money that they're requesting back in profit for that company. So, you know, buyer beware. Make sure you're not signing any of these contracts without reading them. Make sure if you see some sort of concept of which it's telling you that you're an at-will employee and you're under contract, these two things should not make sense. For them to be like, you're under contract, and if you break this contract, you have to pay, but you're an at-will employee who can be fired at any time for any reason, without warning, and you have to pay back some training repayment program. It just doesn't seem like they really care about keeping those employees there for a long period. And just remember that a lot of the good companies who pay their people well, who take care of their people, who don't work them to death, don't ask for training repayments. My company doesn't ask for training repayments. And we're not one of the big, legacies. We don't pay the most, and they know that you got to have some value for your employees and for the work that they're doing. And telling them from the get-go, hey, I'm locking you in this contract and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars right off the bat, shows that you don't value your employees. You value the money over anything. So just be aware of what I've pointed out. If you're looking at getting into one of these AV8 programs, one of these flow programs, read the fine print. Sometimes you might get locked into a contract that really isn't advantageous. And remember, don't get discouraged if you're applying for these jobs. It's an ebb and flow. I've seen plenty of times in which tons of guys were getting hired off the street, and then all of a sudden, boom, everybody else who applied is getting a thanks but no thanks. And it's not even them. It's just that they filled those numbers with people they wanted. They were really just trying to fill those warm bodies, and you just missed the flow. So keep that in mind when it comes to the current environment. There is still a shortage. At my company, we were hiring like crazy, but we lost so many people so quickly that's why the company was hiring so quickly. Now we're still hiring, but we're hiring much slower because there's definitely more pilots with those times that the company is looking for. They're becoming a little more selective at this point, but it can change very quickly, and we're still understaffed. We're losing pilots due to immigration issues. We're still losing pilots to major airlines. So, there'll be an opportunity for you to get those jobs. There'll be an opportunity for you to fill those positions, get that jet time, and succeed in your career. It may be a little slow right now, but there's always a silver lining. If you guys have any questions, complaints, comments, leave it down there. I'll try to get to answering as soon as I can. If I don't answer, check my other videos. Sometimes I'll answer questions in videos. And so I may not reply. Sometimes, when I'm on the road, I'm gone anywhere up to like 2 weeks or so. And, I'm doing day-night transitions, and I just don't have the energy to put out videos as fast as I can. I'm not a YouTuber. I put these videos out because people ask me questions, and often they'll ask me the same question over and over again. And I feel that it's information I want you guys to know, not just one person to know. So, feel free to ask questions. Again, if I don't respond, don't take it as a personal thing. I probably read it, and I'm probably planning to put it in another video. If you've asked me a question a while ago and you never got a response, check my videos. I probably answered it in one of those videos. I typically do that. So feel free to go ahead and contact me if you want. I just recently renewed my CFI just to keep that fresh. I've been doing some counseling. I've been doing some career counseling, some test preps and mock orals for people. So if you're interested in that, feel free to go ahead and shoot me a message, and we can sit down and work out something if you're interested in those services. I do a lot of oral preps. I've done a lot of check ride preps, and I enjoy doing it myself. And thanks for watching my videos, guys. Keep an ear out. I won't be posting as frequently, but I'll try to post when I can. All right. You guys stay safe out there.